Let's see. Crossing fingers, eyes and toes. Mm.
Is this better?
Well, it's not doing anything. Now it's
Oh.
just trying to redirect to Facebook Live.
You are live.
I am, so you can see me.
Yes.
I can't see you, but that's okay. So we're gonna keep it moving. Hey everybody. Hey Lex, can Lex see and all that other good stuff?
I can see you. I can't see anybody else though, but that's good.
Or
the chat.
Lex can see me. Okay, so anywho, welcome to No Man Wind Down Wednesday, everyone. We're having obviously some weird stuff going on with Facebook and Zoom tonight, but that's okay. We're just gonna keep it moving. I want to introduce everyone to our guest tonight. This is Dr. Lex James, correct?
Correct.
And she is a sexologist. Mm-hmm. So I've been so excited to speak with her because I'm thinking this is going to be a whole lot of fun. And she's going to answer all of our naughty questions and all the other good stuff. But I'd like for her to tell us a little bit about herself first before I dive into all these questions that I have. And then you guys can chime in and ask questions and we'll be able to answer those as well. So do you go by Dr. James? Do you go by Dr. Lex?
I go by Dr. Lex, but you can call me Lex. It's good. We family.
Okay, Lex. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So a little bit about me. I am Dr. Lex. She, her, doctor are my pronouns. I am a Black, fat, Southern, pansexual individual. And I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I'm also a sexologist. So I have a lot of letters behind my name. And they basically say I talk about sex, and I talk about sex a lot with a lot of different people. From womb to tomb, I talk about sex. There's not much that people have told me about that I haven't seen and or heard of. So feel free to light those questions up. And I've been doing this for 10 years now. So I've been a sex therapist and I work primarily with Black folks, Black couples specifically. Okay. And I also do education for parents, families, children. I'm also a parent. So I have 2 young ones. I call them hating ass babies. And
you call them what?
Hating ass babies. They're haters because they hate on my life all the time, in me and my lover's life all of the time. Okay. And they're amazing. And I have a private practice here in St. Louis, Missouri, where I reside, although I am a Southerner. I'm from Georgia, Atlanta specifically. Mm-hmm. So my private practice, I see couples, individuals, families about all sorts of issues, not just sexuality related, but all sorts of issues. And I've had this practice for 5 years now.
That's pretty cool. And how did you find yourself in this? So did you go to school, you're looking at getting your master's, and then, okay, I'm going to get this PhD. So how did you land in the sex realm of, or is that actually a degree you get, or is that like a minor, or is that something you can actually go to school to get a sexology degree?
Yeah, boop, boop. Like according to Navient and Sally Mae, I have a whole doctorate in human sexuality education.
Okay, it's human sexuality. Okay, all right.
It's specifically human sexuality. There's human sexuality therapy and human sexuality education. I specifically am also a certified sexuality educator and certified sexuality educator supervisor. Lots of letters. So yeah, I went to school. I went to Emory, the Harvard of the South, and I majored in physics.
Wow.
I am not a physicist to this day. And then I decided that I didn't want to go to med school. And I didn't go to med school. I became a sex therapist instead, especially in the Black community. We don't talk about sex. And I'm a Southerner and a recovering Baptist. So there wasn't a lot about sex. although a lot of people were doing a lot of sexual things around me,
Right.
nobody outright was like, this is what sex is. In ninth grade, I got in trouble because my bio teacher said some bull about how sex happens. He glued two pieces of construction paper together, a red one and a blue one, and had somebody in the class separate them. And, there were red speckles on the blue and blue speckles on the red because he had glued them together. And he said, this is sex. Every time you have sex with somebody, you imprint on them and they imprint on you. And I was like, hell nah. Condoms, sir. Like, what? Like, no, that's not how that works. So I found myself being an educator from very early on. And it's what I love to talk about. I love people connecting. I love helping people build, maintain, create intimacy. It's one of the fun parts of my job.
Wow, very impressive. Very impressive. So we heard you use a couple of different, or maybe not so different, but language such as pan. You said you refer to yourself as, I think you said pan something.
Pansexual. Yep, I'm pansexual. So it means that I am pretty much attracted to people for people. I don't really care about gender or how they identify. I just really like a person for being the person who they are.
Okay, all right. You're a very interesting person. So I see another Zoom in our future, but we'll stick over here for right now. So as a sexologist, when you entered this, you said you've been a sexologist for about 10 years, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so so when you veered into this space in terms of I guess therapeutic type of role, did you know immediately where you were going to land? Like, I know you have a diverse area of expertise, but do you find yourself with your clients sticking more in one space versus another, or is it kind of, even keel with what people are interested in signing up to come talk to you about?
I think it's all over the place. So I see a lot of Black couples, a lot of queer couples, but I also see teens. And I also see families. So it's all over the place. I have one person who comes to me and is like, I need help to stop cheating on my wife. I have another couple that comes to me and says, we don't have great sex and we'd like to have better sex. I have people who come to me and say, I'm anxious. I don't know what to do. Or I'm feeling really depressed. Or what is this feeling? I don't know. And I have other people who are healing from trauma, right? Whether it be childhood trauma, recent trauma, surviving something that was really hard. I also see people who have sexual pain and post-birth, maybe even sexual pain, or have problems trying to get to orgasm. So I get a whole bunch of different folks. That's what makes the work really interesting and really helpful.
Gotcha. So tonight you are speaking to a group of women that are 40 and up. Primarily, we fall into the age group of, let's see, I believe it's around 53 to, the bulk of us are somewhere between 53, we'll just say 50 to 65.
Mm-hmm.
And so No Ma'am is a gathering of women, primarily African-American women, but all women are free to join. And we talk about a host of everything. And one of the hot topics for us, well, first of all, No Ma'am has a couple of different arms. We have the umbrella of No Ma'am Nation, and then we have a group that the bulk of our women are in. It's called No Ma'am. And we have a fitness arm, and then we have the After Dark side. And our After Dark side is what we call our naughty side, where we have all kind of fun with memes and conversations and pictures and all kind of stuff. But most of it centers around sex. So I was excited about speaking to you because, there are stereotypes about women and aging, about, how much we like sex, do we still like sex, how we perform sex, all of these constrictions that I think are more myth than anything. But it's really great to bring someone on board like you to talk a little bit more about myths versus reality. I'm always, that whole thing about the G-spot. I want to know, is it really, really real? Does it really exist? And then the ladies are going to come in with questions as well and Tamara will feed those to me and I'll be able to ask those questions to you. But we have an assortment of questions. And so I just want to start off with myths associated with women and aging. What are you hearing? What are some things that are maybe leaning more towards truth in terms, or not, in terms of our desire? Is there really a peak? Do we really flatten out? And can we revitalize? So talk to us a little bit about that.
So, oh my God, favorite thing, right? I'm actually in a book talking about women and menopause. So let's talk about sex myths. Women over 40, 45 don't want sex. Complete bullshit.
Right.
Not true. It's actually women in that age range are actually reaching their sexual peak. This is why you see the cougar movement. So the older woman with the younger man, because your sex drives are actually more aligned. So when I say younger man, like 18 to 25, maybe 28-ish, before that 30-year-old metabolism kicks in, right? So they got stamina, they can break bricks with their penis, they are able to just keep up, right? And they're willing to learn and do things. So women typically after menopause actually feel more sexually liberated, and they know what they want. You're no longer worried about getting pregnant, even if you're on the pill or other some type of birth control. Also, you've had sex that you didn't really like before, and you've decided to stop doing that. If you're still doing that, stop doing that. And you know what you like. So you know that you like your clit rubbed on the left side versus the right side counterclockwise, and you got to press 2 times at midnight. Like, you know what you like. Right. So at that point, you know your body, and you're strong enough in voice and ego to tell somebody, like, I don't like that, stop doing that.
Right.
Right? It's like, nope, do it this way.
Yeah.
And so that is why that sexual prowess actually increases. Now, for some folks, this can be a little bit hard, because for some folks, the perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause can be really hard. Right? So there's hormone replacement therapy, there's body changes, mood shifts, all of those things can happen. And sometimes they can last for years. And so that can really squash sex drive. So there is a hormonal component here. However, once those things are figured out, there's no thing that says that women over a certain age are not sexual. It actually is quite the opposite research-wise. What can shift is types of orgasm. So orgasm intensity. So as you get older, you know, and maybe if you
stop.
Oh, sorry.
Types of orgasms. So, how are we talking? Like a plethora?
Yes.
Or,
yes.
2, maybe 5. But tell us the different types of orgasms.
So there is a friend of mine. Her name is Goody Howard. She is all about science and hoe shit. That is her tag.
Science
and hoe shit.
Yes. Science and hoe shit.
Yes, Goody Howard, like goody, or the Goodies powder for headaches back in the day. So Goody will tell you that there are 13 different types of orgasms that you can
have. Taking notes. Hold on, Dr. Les. I got 13 types.
There's 13 types. That is what Goody spouts. And she has classes that range in all sorts of techniques that you can figure out and share in order to help you get to these types. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the main ones because they're easily accessible, and I also get to show you all like my demos and stuff. So I'm excited about that. So let me tell you about the ones you know, right? Oh, it might be helpful. Okay. I just got these, so I'm super excited. So this is Raha. This is my vulva puppet. Maybe this side. Yes. So if you see my vulva puppet, right, you see that she's a vulva. Your vulva is your external genitals. It's not all your vagina. Everybody says vagina, everything. It's not all your vagina, right? So these would be the labia majora, the big lips. These are the little lips. Some people's lips are tucked inside. Some people's hang out. Whatever. More meat to play with, more meat to enjoy. Now, one type of orgasm, clitoral orgasm, right? So we know rubbing the clitoris. Now, I have cornstarch on this because it's silicone and it helps it not stick to anything. But when we have a vulva, right, here's another type of vulva. These labia actually stick out. This pink in here is a clitoris. So all of this pink, let me show you the back. This is what your clitoris actually looks like in real life. Okay, it has legs.
What?
It's a whole organ to itself that is 4 to 6 inches long. So your clitoris is probably bigger than some people's penises.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that cool? But people don't know. So like up under the hood is that little bitty peak that we see. But there's clitoris all up in here. So the labia have clitoris legs in them that can be stimulated, and it straddles the entrance to the vaginal canal. That was a mess. So let's talk about it. So the clitoris has legs here, and it straddles the opening to the vaginal canal. Now look, so you have your clitoral hood. That's the tip of it. That's sensitive. You have a side that is more sensitive than others. If you don't know that side, you have homework.
Well, you know, I gotta take a deep breath because this is quite plenty.
Yes.
Just stand right there 1 second, Dr. Les. I wanna someone shot a couple of questions in.
Oh yeah.
I want to just back up just a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
You guys might see me looking down, and that's just me checking messages and getting questions.
See if I can find.
So these ladies are interested in classes, so we'll get to that. But one of the first questions is, what's the difference between pansexual and fluid?
Okay, so people who are sexually fluid don't really have a definition, right? So they're just like, maybe I'm attracted to men today, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm attracted to women today. So they still might be more so in gender than somebody who's pansexual, right? Okay. So they might be like, I'm attracted to men, women, and trans people, but I'm not attracted to people who don't identify with the gender at all, who are non-binary, who don't identify as male or female, right? They're like, oh, that's not really my type. For pansexual folks, I don't really care how you identify. It's whatever.
Now, are these terms, is this something new in that, or has it always been around, and we're just, because society has become more open and expressive, are we just tapping into that, but it was always there? Or I'm speaking of the fluid and the pan, or is that something that, you know, for lack of a better word, was created in the last, 10, 15 years maybe? Or was it always there and now people are learning more about it?
So it was always there, but got erased with colonization.
Oh, wow.
Right? So when you think, I have a book called African Sexualities. I can't find it on my bookshelf right now. Mm-hmm. When I find it, I'll show it to you. But there has been folks who exist outside of gender, like the Native indigenous people. So indigenous is what I say for Native Americans, because they were never technically Americans. They've always been the indigenous people.
Okay.
Right? So indigenous folks had up to like 15 different types of gender before colonization.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Right? People in Africa had different types of gender, had same-sex relationships, and it was normative. It was like, well, that's just what they are. Nobody really cares.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's existed, and just like polyamory's existed. So you notice, like, granddad had 2 families.
Right.
And they knew about each other.
Right.
And both the moms knew about each other, and you had to know, so you ain't end up dating your sibling.
Right.
Right? And everybody was like, this is just what we do. That's a polyamorous relationship.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But nobody used that term back then.
No, I can't wait till we have our first conference, because you coming. You do know you will be taking, we'll figure out all the other stuff, but you have to come because, like I said, you're fascinating. But the history and the information itself, yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, so these people have existed since the beginning of time. It's just that, colonization basically killed them because that's what colonization did. If you were anything different, it stomped you out.
You had to go. Okay, and then the difference between gay, lesbian, and queer, because I hear queer, is that just like the same?
So queer is now a bigger umbrella term, which basically means not straight, right? So gay is man attracted to man, lesbian is woman attracted to woman. Queer is an umbrella term. So a gay person, a lesbian person can be queer, a pansexual person can be queer. It's no longer, for some folks, for typically younger generations, right? It's not the name calling and bullying that it used to be.
Because it used to, right. That's what I was gonna say. Because calling somebody queer, growing, I'm 53, so that used to be an insult.
Right. And for some folks, it still is, right? For people who are 53, who are 60, who are 70, because queer people have existed since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Right. That can still be hurtful. For younger generations, it just means not the same, like not straight, not necessarily the standard that we hear about.
Gotcha. Okay, so moving right along, one of the no mammers, she says she had a hysterectomy 8 years ago, and she wants to have more sex now, but can't find a decent partner. Not just for sex, for the entire package. Where does she start?
I mean, I met my husband on the internet, so I don't know.
Okay.
We're in a pandemic, so I hope that you all are using all the online tools, right? Bumble is a great source. Bumble. So Bumble actually puts the power in the hands of women, and they're the ones who actually reach out to people who are exciting.
Okay.
And I mean, I met my husband on Plenty of Fish, so we've been together 8-9 years now, maybe. I don't know. That's his job, to keep the numbers and anniversary dates, because I don't do that. But yeah, the hysterectomy, I don't think has any bearings on anything. Like, you are able to have sex and sexual pleasure all the same as everybody else. So have at it. And then
but with the hysterectomy, sometimes those hormones are changing up on her.
Right, so, but it was 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha.
So at this point, her body has regulated. If anything, you might feel a jostling of the ovaries a little bit different if you're having like really hard sex, but you still have clitoral stimulation, you still have G-spot stimulation, you can still like have nipple stimulation, all of the hot spots and fun, you still go for it. But to meet somebody who is meeting your standards, right, that looks a little bit different. I would also say use your hobbies. So websites like meetup.com, so MEET up.com, and maybe meeting somebody through a hobby group. And again, we in these COVID streets, so you're not going to be out all willy-nilly because we're staying as safe as possible. But that can also help generate conversation. And then being upfront with what you want, right? If you want just a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, let somebody know. Get all of the tests that you need to get, because women over the age of 60 are specifically Black women, are one of the leading HIV cases, right? So just because you all haven't been taught how to use condoms and to use condoms regularly and every time, because that wasn't a thing way back in the day. So just being aware and getting yourself tested. So HIV tested, tested for HPV, so the cervical swab that needs to happen to make sure you don't have any cancerous cells. Get yourself regularly tested at your doctor, and then go out and do what you want to do.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's go back to those props you had.
Okay.
And the magic of our so it has so many names. The JJ, Poo Nanny, vagina.
So many names. Amazing.
The Poussey, however you want, whatever you want to call it. Who knew it had all that magic up in there?
Right?
I didn't. I'll just be the first to raise my hand. So you're saying, what did you say about arms? It had legs.
So the clitoris, right? And for folks, if it gives you any more feelings about it, because sometimes the stuff comes with a lot of shame and guilt. I'll say, as a recovering Baptist, God created your clitoris. It is an organ solely for pleasure. That is what it is meant to do. That being said, it is a whole organ. I don't know if I have a clitoris hanging up in this office somewhere. Oh, I usually do.
Clitoris is an organ alone.
All to itself. I have a card with it on there. Hold on one second. Let me grab that.
Ladies, are y'all learning a little extra? I am. I knew the clitoris was magical, but damn, who knew it had all those extra features? She has to tell us, is it the luxury vehicle of the reproductive system?
I would think so. It's definitely the start button if it's not. Right? So this is a Christmas clitoris. We get a lot of clitoral art as a therapist here. So you see how it has legs here and here, these bulbs? Yep. This little tip right here is what people see. That's the little man in the boat, right? But your clitoris is actually all of this, all of it. So it can be stimulated through the labia. Like and sometimes you might be able to feel it. You might be able to like rub your labia lips and you feel a little ting, and that tendon, right? That is a clitoral leg. Also, right? So you have your clitoral hood. There's also the G spot, which is more like an area, but it is inside the clitoris. I'm sorry, inside the vaginal canal, and then 2 inches up. So the reason why it's wrinkly on here is because it feels wrinkly the same way. Inside your body. It feels like a firmer piece of tissue. It feels about the size of a walnut, and it's wrinkly like this. And when you press on it, it takes a lot of pressure, then it'll feel really nice. And you get to figure out what pressure works for you. Some people like the come here method, right? So pressing up into it and like they're trying to pull it out of the body. That feels really good for them. Some people like multiple presses. That feels really good for them. But you get to figure out what your pattern is and what feels really nice for you.
Girl, after I feel like my eyes are just opening. It's like,
yes, I need you all to know about these things.
Who knew? I think we know a lot, but from a technical, it's almost like you are fixing a computer and you're opening it up and you're showing us, oh no, this is how you do this. And all we do is turn on the computer and we get an image and sound and but with you're dissecting stuff. I've never heard someone say a vagina had legs.
Your clitoris has legs.
Well,
yes.
Clitoris had it.
Your clitoris has legs. Because you know what? They've been missing out. You can have a clitoral orgasm just from rubbing your vulva. You don't even have to like go inside. Most women do not come from just the banging. Like that, trying to bang your head through a headboard, banging. just penile. Like, people who have sex like that. Stop it. You be like, what are you doing? Get off me.
Yes.
I have a headache now.
Please, now.
Nobody wants that. I think it's like only 30%, or I think it might be a little less than that, actually like orgasm from that type of sex.
Yeah. Oh boy. So we have another question. This no mammer, she has a spouse. I have a spouse that's 45 and not wanting to have sex anymore. He says it's not me, but he's just not in the mood. How can they spark their sex life?
So one, we can always do a good physical, right? So especially for Black men. Black men need their prostates checked just a little bit earlier and their testosterone checked. So the free testosterone in his body could be low, which is his sex hormone. So there are doctors, they just run a simple blood test. It doesn't have to go up their butt to test testosterone. They do need the butt check for the prostate test. And they should get those because prostate cancer is a silent killer of Black men. A lot of Black men get it and they catch it too late because they don't want to go to the doctor for that gay stuff. Go to the doctor, get checked out. Now, the other thing you can do is you don't have to actually have penetrative sex every single time. I'm gonna say that again. You don't have to have penetrative sex every single time.
Y'all hear that, ladies? You don't have to have, say that fancy word again.
Right, penetrative.
No.
Penis and vagina. You don't have to have that type of sex every time you have sex. We're taught that way. It's crap. It is such trash. And like, I know the bases have changed, right? So you remember like, oh, I made it to first base with the boy, or we went to third base, right? Them bases are different now because these kids are new. But in my day, right? First base would be like kissing. Second base might be like a feel, a body rub. Third base might be fingering. And then fourth base was home. And then a home run might be that orgasm, right? Issue is, it teaches us one way to have sex. We always got to start with kissing. And then we got to go to touching. And then we got to go to fingering or oral sex. And then we have regular sex. And then once the penis is no longer hard, sex is over. Girl. Trash. Girl. Trash.
Yo, where has Lex been all our lives, huh?
Like, why are we doing this? Just because the penis is not hard does not mean that sexual pleasure can't take place. Like, you don't need a hard dick just to have like sexual pleasure. Tongues, toes, knees, and noses work. Like, whatever body part, all those other pieces work still. So sex doesn't start and end with a hard penis.
Amen, amen, and amen.
Yeah.
So we got another question for you, Lex.
Shoot.
Squirting.
Mm-hmm.
Is that real? I mean, you hear about it. I've certainly heard about it. But I don't even know, where are you squirting from? Okay, just tell us what's going on with the squirt thing.
Real simple. Squirting is real. However, it's only squirting if it's more than a tablespoon of fluid.
More than a tablespoon of fluid. Okay.
Right. So more than a tablespoon. You know how your grandmama taught you to measure stuff. It's a tablespoon. If it's more than a tablespoon of fluid, it's squirting. If it's not, it's a female ejaculate. Basically, it is a G-spot orgasm. So that wrinkly walnut thing.
Right.
The issue is most people feel the inkling to pee and they stop. Because they're uncomfortable. They're like, no, I'm gonna wet myself. Stop. That inkling to pee is often an indicator that you're about to squirt.
For real? Girl.
Because your G-spot actually swells. Not this big. It doesn't get this big. But your G-spot swells and will squeeze up against your urethra and actually close it a little bit. So when you orgasm and you spasm, it lets out a little bit of that fluid. And the fluid does come from your bladder. There was a study. There's something else that gets into this fluid that makes it a different consistency than pee, unless you push out. So if you're forcing the fluid out, you're peeing. Oh. This fluid, though, because people can squirt multiple times, you can squirt, be one and done, and you might be hella thirsty if you're dehydrated. But most people find that they can keep going with squirting and squirt over and over again, put more than a towel down, squirting soaks through a towel, get a mattress cover. What? It actually is a rapid fill up of the bladder. So the bladder does fill up and it relinquishes. But the thing is, this fluid doesn't go through the filtration system like the kidneys to make pee. So the kidneys don't dump in all of the dirt and like residual trash that pee has. It doesn't get that. That fluid does not have that same type of trash and leftover stuff that pee does. So it's not exactly pee. It's some urea, but there's also some other stuff in it that makes it not pee. And that fluid fills up way too fast for it to go through the filtration system of the body to make it pee again. So you're not peeing, even though it is coming from your urethra.
Okay, Lex. I don't know if anybody else needs to take a pause. We're just learning so much.
We're gonna learn today. I'm gonna get y'all the pleasure y'all deserve.
Yes, you are, girl. This is excellent.
Nobody has time. Like, y'all too grown to be having horrible sex and non-pleasurable sex nowadays.
Gosh. Let's see. Okay, so I wrote a whole bunch of questions down, and you have answered, quite a few of them.
Oh, woohoo.
I got one for you. In my research for you, is it normal to pass gas while you're having sex?
Yes. Right? Because I mean, think about it, right? Everything is collapsing, including some of your intestines, especially if somebody's on top of you. So, yes, it is normal to pass gas. It's something you laugh about, be like, oh, you did that, you stink. And you move on.
But
It's
your
not
body
anything
makes
stop.
noises anyway because of the air getting and scooting up in there and okay, yeah.
Yep, that queefing, that front fart. Absolutely. So air gets trapped in there, and there's all sorts of pockets and folds in the vaginal canal. So it makes sense that air might get up in there. You make squishy noises. Yeah, so all sorts of noises.
So I was reading where, well, all of us don't orgasm, and you touched on this through, regular penetration. So vibrators. So we're going to be selling vibrators. We're going to launch No Ma'am After Dark, and we're going to have some adult toys that are going to be a part of our product line.
Okay.
And we know that they come in all shapes and sizes, and and they can do magical things, right? So for women that are unable to orgasm by, I guess, penetration or fingering or whatever, talk to us about vibrators. And
I don't have vibrators in this office because my kids are haters and they broke the last two that I had in this office. So there are external and internal vibrators, right? And since we're just talking about vibrators, those are different than dildos. Dildos just look like penises, right? And so kind of like a dildo. This is a penis model, but dildos look like this, and they can come in all shapes and sizes. It's cornstarch because we don't want them to stick together. But all of that being said, vibrators, internal and external. There are some that go inside the vagina, and there's some that just stay on the outside. They come in very different sizes. You've seen the lipstick version ones that are just like this big, and then they come pretty large. The granddaddy of vibrators are the Hitachi Magic Wands, and they have ones that plug in, and they have ones that are battery operated. So you need to figure out what works best for you, right? Do you want something that plugs in, or do you want something that you charge? Just remember, when you're going to use it or you want to use it, you need to make sure it's charged or it has batteries. That being said, there are clitoral stimulators. So there's a vibrator that like sucks on the clitoris and also vibrates. That could be an answer for somebody who doesn't like that penetrative, or who just doesn't want something inside of them when they're masturbating or when they're using it with a lover, because you can use sex toys with your lover. It is absolutely okay and can be a lot of fun, especially for them if they like vibration sensation too and want to kind of drive you wild. Teach your lovers how to use your sex toys. Again, teach your lovers how to use your sex toys on you. And it's not something that's passive. Like, they can be penetrating you and using a clitoral vibrator at the same time. So you get that penetration feel and that vibration feel on your clitoris, which can be a lot of fun. Then there's also internal vibrators, right? So ones you put in the vagina and vibrate. Usually these are also G-spot stimulators, so they have some sort of a curve to the head. So they'll go in the vagina, and usually they're cupped towards the belly forward, or up towards the belly and forward. And those can feel really nice and do a G-spot stimulation too. And then you have some that do both. So they, from Sex and the City, the rabbit that everybody always sees with the ears that go really fast. So that's an insertable vibrator that also has clitoral stimulation. So there's a bunch of different options. They can be super discreet, like the Bullet. They have the ones that you can just wear in your panties and that have a remote. So you can be in the other room and give your lover the remote. and do some playfulness that way. And then they have ones that are larger that are not meant for insertion at all and can be super powerful. So like the Hitachi Magic Wand, which I also recommend for anybody who has like any type of MS, like multiple sclerosis, or where they lose sensitivity. That one is so high powered that people with MS who have sensitivity loss also can really enjoy sexual pleasure.
So did you guys write that down, the Hitachi? Hitachi is one that she recommends. Lex, this has been so much fun and such a big, we got to do this again, right?
Yes, I'm always here for no ma'am.
You are, you and I have to talk offline, but this was wonderful. So what we do with our guests is that we collect the information, your contact information, because you do things remotely, obviously.
Yes.
So some of the ladies are interested in, consulting with you, or do you take insurance, or is it private pay, or you're in some networks?
So for therapy, I can see people in St. Louis or Missouri, because that's where I am licensed. Okay. Right. And we're not losing no licenses or credentials. For coaching, we can talk about what that looks like. And typically, sex coaching is not covered by insurance. They don't think it's a vital service. Mm-hmm. So then we can talk about what that looks like. And as far as classes, I don't have any classes coming up, but I do have great friends in the sexuality field that do all sorts of classes. So I definitely can recommend stuff for you.
Oh, wow. I can't wait. We would definitely invite you again. And ladies, the reason I'm looking down is because we were having some technical difficulties. And so I can see what's going on my phone, but I'm also using my laptop for Zoom. So I'm probably paying too much attention. I was taking notes and everything.
So I just want to plug really quickly, mm-hmm. The person who had the husband who's no longer interested in sex, uh-huh. I would recommend doing a heat map with him of saying like what parts are actually sensitive still for him, what parts feel good, and you can color the pages in on yourself and on him, and you can exchange. And then you can also do this thing I call a pleasure wheel. We talked about that baseball diamond of sex. And with a pleasure wheel, you put in all the things that are fun that you both like to do, and then you make a wheel of fortune of sex play. And so all of these are actually in my new workbook that's not even out yet. It's only available on pre-order on Amazon. And so it's the Black Girl's Guide to Couples Intimacy. And it has a bunch of different things in there for you to do to explore yourself and your lover, and you all can do those things together.
I can't wait. I'm going to talk to you because I would love to add that to our sex education link.
Yeah.
That would be fabulous. So, and I'm going to, Dr. Lex's information will be available. So you'll be able to contact her directly. And we just so appreciate you. And this was fun and such an eye opener and a lot of information. So y'all look forward to seeing her when we have our first conference, once we get past this COVID.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait.
We can't wait either. So thank you. And I'm going to reach out to you after we hang up.
Okay.
Bye, ladies. Thank you. Let's see. Go. Wasn't it? I'm trying to get out of here and. Oh, yes, you told me to.
Oh, there we go. Okay.